This will walk you through the creation of a chemical doodle that you've created in the darkroom. Once you open it up in Photoshop, you're going to make a duplicate copy. You just go to Image and Duplicate and say OK, and now you have two copies, the original and the copy. So you pull them apart, and on the copy you just go over to the layers and you'll see there's a lock. You click on it, get rid of it, go down, and you're going to make a new blank layer. So it's right down there. Just click on it, take a look now up at the top, and you see you have a blank layer up there. So go to the next layer down, which is the original, and you hit delete, and now you have cleared that doodle. So this is the portion that you're going to construct the doodle on. You go back to the original, and now what you're going to do is select different colors to drag over. So you go to Select and Color Range. When that comes up, you want to go down to the bottom and select Image. And if you go to the top, you'll see it says Fuzziness, and you can increase that if you like. That's just going to increase the amount of pixels that you grab, or decrease it. It depends on where it's set. And then when you come down into the picture, see the eyedropper? So you find the darkest area and click on it. Now what that does is click all the dark areas. So you go to the Move tool, and if you notice, it goes from a double-sided cross to a scissors, and when it's in the scissors, you just drag it over. And there we have that part of the layer over there. Now, it's an RGB document, which means that it's color. So we can colorize this. We go over to the layer, right-click, choose Blending Options, and when that comes up, now we've got all the choices. So I'm going to click on Gradient Overlay, and I go and I choose a gradient. Okay? And I say OK, and you can take a look and see how it's changed. It's now a colored document. So I want a background. So I go down, I create a new layer, and now notice that I'm highlighted on that layer. So I want to create a gradient background for it. So I choose the Gradient tool, I go to the upper left, and I'm going to choose a gradient. So I like the one that's picked. Grab that one, say OK, and then just like before, left click, drag through the document, and now I have my gradient. But of course it's on top, so I have to drag it down below. And now you can see that I have a nice colored background. But if you take a look at that layer, you'll see that it's very flat. It's just like a drawing, an ink drawing. So we want to give it some definition. So again, we right-click on the layer and go to Blending Options. And there's lots of things you can do. I'm going to choose Stroke here, and you'll see that it all of a sudden turns the whole thing dark. But if I go up to Position, and I click, instead of inside, we say outside, it gives it a real nice little defined area that kind of pops it off. You could also use Outer Glow. You could use Drop Shadow. I'm going to use Bevel and Emboss here. And by playing around with the sliders there, watch what happens. You're going to change the shape of that to give it more definition, a little bit more separation, if you will, from the background. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for kind of a depth feeling, so that it's not just one flat layer on top of another. Okay, so once we decide, looking at it there, and we like it, then you just simply click OK, and you have yourself a nice little defined layer there. There I'm playing around with the up and down direction of the bevel. Down looks good, so we're going to choose that and say OK. Now it really pops off the page at this point. Now we're going to go back and we're going to grab another layer. So again, we go to Select, we go down to Deselect, and then we go back and go to Color Range, and we pick one of the lighter colors. I say OK, go back to the Move tool, and now I'm going to drag over that layer, so that will be on top. And you see it's a whole different type of layer, different shapes that I've grabbed because of the color separation. So again, I go back, I click on Blending Options, and I'm going to choose a gradient here. So I click on that, and I drop it down. But I don't like the choices, so I go to that little pop-out button. I choose Pastels, click on that and then choose one of the pastels, and then take a look at it. Do I like it? If so, then I just click OK. I might change the opacity or the color. And now with the Move tool, I can move that around. And you see how what it's doing. It's giving a different kind of edge. You don't have to always have it right in the same spot. So I could also go back at this point and go to the blending options and add a drop shadow or something. But here we see that it's really bringing this thing kind of to life. And it's a whole different experience than looking at a flat black and white. So now you have it done. So once you feel your piece is done, now you just have to add the title and then your text. And remember, we're not using a quote. What we're doing is trying to respond to the artwork, so it's very personal for you. And this does not have to be complicated. Anybody can look at that. You look at it long enough, and as I've mentioned, there's always a secret word in every image. And once you find that word, then the words themselves flow easily. And then you save it as a Photoshop document, and finally you save it as a JPEG, and you're done.